Hey guys, so I want to talk about matrix row operations. And I know I've covered this before, but I wanted to it's been a long time, so I just wanted to cover it again. So let's talk about matrix row operations. So there are three things we're allowed to do to matrices that won't actually change the systems of equations it's based on. So basically, row operations um, are designed to help us solve systems of equations. So we looked at this back when we were doing systems of equations. Um, but they can also be used for other things. So not just systems of equations, they can be used for finding inverses and other things. And we will talk about that later on. But right now, I just want to talk about what the row operations are that we are allowed to do that won't change the meaning of the matrix. So first, we are allowed to swap rows. So I could take this row and I could put it here and then move this one up here. So I could switch row one with row two and it wouldn't change anything. So the way that I would write that as a row operation would be R1, and then I would have a double arrow R2. So that's telling me that I'm changing the locations of R1 and R2. I'm allowed to do that with any two rows. I am also allowed to multiply rows, and that's what multiply any row by a number. So I'm going to multiply the whole row by a number. So that's what they're saying here. So this is the notation for that. That means take -5 and multiply it by row 1. So I'm multiplying each element in row 1 by -5, and I'm putting it in row 1. So I'm replacing row 1 with row 1 times -5. That's what this is saying. So the number over here, the row over here is always where you're putting your new row. Okay? So no matter what's happening over here, you're going to put that in the row that's designated on the right side. So I can multiply a row and then put it in the same location. I'm allowed to do that. The other thing I'm allowed to do is I'm allowed to add two rows together. So I could add, say, row 2 and 3, right? And then I'd have 3, -12, 6, -1. I'm allowed to do that and then put it either in row 3 or row 2. So when I do it, I need to specify, I need to specify which row I'm putting it in. So I could say row 2 plus row 3, and then say I want to put it in row 3. So I have to specify which row I'm putting it in. So this would be the notation for that. So I can combine some of these together, right? I could do -5 row 2 plus 3 row 3, and I could put that in row 2. So I can multiply row 2 by -5, multiply row 3 by 3, add them together, and then put that in row 2. I'm allowed to do that. So these are the things that we're allowed to do with row operations. And yeah, so you always have to specify, or if that's the instructions, it will specify where you're putting the new row. So this, for example, I would take row 2, multiply everything by -5, take row 3, multiply everything by 3, and then I would add those new things together. And then when I'm writing my resulting matrix, my result goes in row 2, and then row 3 doesn't change because I'm putting the result in row 3. So even though I multiplied row 3 by 3, when I finish this row operation, row 3 is going to be the same as it always was because I'm putting this in row 2. Hopefully that makes sense. So in this question, you would just multiply the top row by -5, and then rows 1, 2, and 3 would stay the same. So yeah, so that's row operations, and usually you're trying to do it to get a particular result, and we'll talk about the different things that we can do with these later. Again, we've used them before when we talked about systems of equations. But yeah, so that's row operations. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully that helps, and I will see you guys in the next video.